It's giving people a look at the power of what happens when you change the way you look at things. The things you look at change. I mean, the world begins to change when you change the way you look at it. I would have liked to have seen a little different emphasis myself. I think too much of it is on getting rather than giving. And if you have this incredible power to align yourself with a universal divine mind that is always giving and always offering, then it seems to me that's where we ought to be putting our attention.
What was the moment, the spiritual moment, and I use, the word spiritual carefully here. What was that moment that got you to see your own life differently, that opened you up?
I know exactly the moment. I know the date, the time.
Okay, tell me.
It was 1974, and I grew up in a series of foster homes and orphanages and so on, as you know. My father walked out on us.
Yes.
And he just abandoned us. He never paid any support. He just had 3 boys. My mother had 3 boys under the age of 4 before she was 23 years old, and she was just left. There was a depression. I was born in 1940. My brothers were born in 38 and 36. And I carried around deep anger and deep resentment and deep hatred. I dreamt every night. Rage is a good word, because at night I would wake up and I would be sweating, and I would meet him in a bar someplace, and I would be hitting, because he was an alcoholic and so on. And but I never was able to find him. I ended up in Biloxi, Mississippi, at his grave, through a series of just the most bizarre circumstances. I rented a car.
That weren't coincidences.
Yes, exactly. And I was sent to get rid of this rage inside of me, because I knew that I came here to do something great. I knew that. I knew that when I was a little boy. I knew I could talk kids out of being upset at what was going on in the orphanage, for example. They always, when everybody would show up, they'd always say, "Where's Wayne? Go get them." And whoever it was, a little girl would be crying, and I'd say, "This is the greatest place in the world. There's no parents. You're going to love this place." And that's what I would just try to take the attention off of what they were, their anger and their fear and so on. So I always knew this. So I get to my father's grave. I didn't even know he was dead up until just a few months before, and his body had been shipped there. And when I went to the grave and I stood there at his grave, I finally said, from this moment on, this was after 3 hours of just stomping on the ground, I said, from this moment on, I send you love. From this moment on, I will no longer have any resentment or hatred or bitterness towards you at all. I never dreamt about this man again. I feel his presence very, very frequently. From that moment on, I quit drinking. Alcohol was no longer a part of my life. I lost the weight that I was, I changed my diet around. The right people began to show up in my life. And it was all about forgiveness, Oprah. It was just about, Mark Twain said that forgiveness is the fragrance the violet sheds on the heel that has crushed it. And I understood it finally. I finally got that.
Say that again.
Forgiveness is the fragrance that the violet sheds on the heel that has crushed it.
Oh, that makes me want to cry.
It's so poetic, it's so beautiful. And I have never had an angry thought towards him or towards anyone else since that time.
In Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, Living the Wisdom of the Tao, Dr. Wayne Dyer's latest book, I think it's 31 or 32 books, bestsellers, you say, for my father, Melvin Lyle Dyer, even though I've never known you, after thoroughly digesting the Tao, I finally get it! Exclamation point. It is and always was all perfect. I love you.
Mm. And I feel that. I feel him now. I feel him right here with us now.
How was it always perfect when he essentially abandoned you? How was that perfect for people who are listening? We're talking to Dr. Wayne Dyer about his latest book, Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. And he lived for a solid year
Live the Tao every day.
Live the Tao every day. How was it perfect?
It's perfect because it taught me the most important thing that we have to learn on this planet. It's about forgiveness. If you don't have something to forgive, in the Course in Miracles, it says if you haven't blamed, then there's no need to forgive.
Yeah.
So once you get rid of blame, once you get rid of your hostility, so in order for me to be able to get to a place where I could teach people about how to go through their life without bitterness and anger and tension and fear and hatred and all that stuff that we carry around because of the way other people treat us, I had to go through that experience myself. Everything that we went through in our life, we had to go through in order to get to this moment.
And that's why it was perfect.
It was absolutely perfect.
It was perfect for you.